Hi Aries, welcome to your June 2019 General Tarot reading. It's Raina here. So the intention of this reading is to provide you something to think about, not to tell you what's going to happen. Pray and get your feet moving is what I like to say. I made that up too. No, I'm just kidding, obviously. Okay. All right, just shuffling the cards. Oh, very interesting. So in these general readings, it's not that I try to avoid talking about love and things like that, but I just feel like I want to branch out a little bit. And if the cards are really like strongly favoring relationships, I'll talk about them. In this particular case, I can see like a total, alignment with career matters. So that's good, because then I don't have to twist like a pretzel to give you an interpretation that deals with one particular thing. Because I do like to keep the flow of what I see here. And for the heart of the matter, we have the Four of Cups. This is a card of dissatisfaction. There may even be somebody trying to make you appease you, and you're not having it. You see the arms are crossed, so it's kind of like in this posture of, not having a posture that's not receptive to whatever somebody's trying to do for you. And the Four of Cups can be a feeling of a dissatisfaction where you are in life, perhaps in general. You may be bored. Aries is a sign that is easily bored. But if your heart is in something, you can sustain it. And if it provides you enough flexibility, or not flexibility so much as you being able to take the initiative, then you're able to sustain interest in it. But if you're in a position where you're not getting to call the shots, this can lead to frustration and then apathy. This is like a card of apathy, I think, at the end of the day. And it's like, I don't really care. And an Aries person who gets in that state, now that's really not good, because I think other signs can handle apathy better than you. You're just so gung-ho that it's really noteworthy when you're not like that. So looking at the past position, we have the Hermit card. So there might be like a spiritual awakening anyway with some of you, where you have had other situations happen that have kind of like given you a desire to be more contemplative. The Hermit is contemplative on finding his inner light, his kind of inner guidance system, and kind of keeping away from the world. That's another aspect of the Hermit, the kind of the monk type of an energy. In astrology, this is represented by the 12th house. Now, in terms of transits, ever since 2011, you have had Neptune in the 12th house, in its own sign of Pisces. So it is possible, and especially, it's funny, that would have been about 8 years ago or so. And then actually, probably in 2012, Uranus went into your sign. And Uranus is intuitive. There can be other, things that Uranus can do when it's in your sign. But one of the things could be kind of these intuitive experiences. And so you combine the two. And maybe some Aries people have had like a spiritual awakening of sorts. But it's not like necessarily a carefree path. It can be kind of bumpy. It can be discombobulating, actually. If you're the type of person, and many Aries people are, because you're the first sign, so there's something very immediate about Aries. You're not the monk type. See, there's an emphasis from the universe. Oh, I hope that that's the only time that the train blows its horn, because I really would like to do this reading for you. But you're not the contemplative type. You're the type to be more extroverted and to be out in the world. And so what could have, I want to say one thing too about the Four of Cups, is that this is also indicative when you are dissatisfied. This can be the best thing that ever happened to you. I'm trying to remember that where I was reading about this, where it can lead you to seek something higher. In other words, if you're the type of person who is just like easily amused with what is happening in the world, then you can just go about your merry way and just live on the surface of life and never even really concern yourself with deeper things. So the point is that the Four of Cups, I wouldn't even say it's the dark night of the soul. It's really not that intense. It's more of what I said before, apathy, where you're just like kind of like indifferent about whatever is going on around you. And yes, of course, some people can say, oh, well, that's the person is unhappy. But the thing is, it's like whatever you want to describe this state of mind. Remember that these are cups, so these are your emotions, and your emotions can help you to guide you in the direction that you should be going in, just simply by showing you what you don't want. And when you don't want something, if you don't know what you want, at least you might know what you don't want. And there's a possibility, too, that this is relationship-oriented. And by the way, it doesn't have to be isolated. You may have some career situation going on here in addition to your love life, where you're not happy with your life, and the higher message, with your significant other. And the higher message, which is connected to marriage, is the Four of Wands, and this is the happy home. You see the people, they're celebrating, and they have that sense of joy within their domestic environment. The thing is, the Hermit is seeking meaning in life, and you may feel like your life is lacking a lot of meaning, like you feel that superficial quality. And it feels like all of a sudden it can feel like horrible. And this is what I believe is true when people are having a spiritual awakening. All of a sudden, they're no longer satisfied with what they were before. So you can never go with what you were interested in before as being some kind of a yardstick of what is going to always interest you, obviously. And I think sometimes people get caught up in that kind of a contrast. And that's where the confusion lies, because they feel like, well, this has always been important to me. Why isn't it important to me now? And it's funny too, because even with depression, one of the symptoms they say is that the person stops, being interested in the things that used to interest them. Well, that could be a spiritual awakening, where the person, we're creating these labels, and of course, there's clinical labels, and sometimes they are accurate and they do have to be taken seriously. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying to lump everything in one category, that if you're not interested in what used to interest you, you're obviously, there's something wrong with you. No, it could be that you have raised your vibration and you're just simply going in a different direction. And the same thing can apply to your relationships. Nobody has to be the bad guy. You don't have to be bad because you're no longer interested in what this other person has to offer you. And neither are they wrong because they're not interesting you. It just is that the two people are growing apart. And the Hermit is a very important catalyst in this because it allows you to tune into yourself, not the noise of the world. And whatever this is, whether this is a decision that you want to make that has to do with career or with your love life or both, that's what's happening. But the Four of Wands, I think in general, because this is fire energy, which you are, your fire sign, is about what brings me joy. And, and brings me joy in my domestic life. And sometimes this may even mean, like, if the Hermit means that some of you Aries people are wanting to be alone more, then that could simply mean that you work from home and that's where you feel the happiest, So it all depends on the individual and what they're going through. What crosses you is represented by the Hangman, and this is like, this can be different things. First of all, the first thing that jumped out at me was the idea of the useless sacrifice. If you're interested in a really good book that you can look up different phrases that connect with each card, Anthony Lewis' Tarot Plain and Simple is a good place to go. And I think that's where I got that phrase. I'm pretty sure it is, because his book is one of the few that I really keep going back to. And useless sacrifice, meaning that a person does something trying to be trying to help somebody else, and it's not helping either one of them. So if you stay married to someone because you feel like, well, they love me, and even though I'm unhappy, I don't want to hurt their feelings or something like that, it's going to show in, the other person's going to know on some level that something is wrong. And so you're going to poison the atmosphere. They're not going to have somebody who really loves them, and you're going to be unhappy. So you tell me how that's going to end up being good for anybody. So that kind of mentality sometimes happens, especially if you, for that relationship type of thing, if you have Venus and or Mars in Pisces, I could see the Aries person doing that. Or the moon in Pisces, the moon in Cancer, trying to, the moon in Libra, trying to please somebody at your expense. The other thing is the sense of, with this particular card, in a similar vein, useless sacrifice, you're working someplace because of the money instead of because of the passion. And in terms of other aspects of this card, the Hangman in challenge position, it can be, the martyr, the Christ-like figure. I say get off the cross. Again, the Pisces influence if you have it. Just in general, where you feel like your happiness has to take a back seat to somebody else's. Well, you know what? Sacrifice, that is true sacrifice, I wouldn't even call it sacrifice. To me, sacrifice means I have to give up something that is important to me for somebody else's benefit. And if I'm doing this begrudgingly, the vibe is crap. If I'm doing it because I have this, this constant guilt that's senseless, it has no logic behind it, that's crap, because I'm sacrificing, and it's a diluted sacrifice. It's not. But if you're doing something because you're putting your needs, you're putting somebody else's needs in front of you, and it makes you happy to do it, you feel honored to do it, that's not sacrifice. That's actually, I wouldn't call it selfish, but it's something that is benefiting you as well. The other thing about this card is it can be the refusal to make a decision. Sometimes in the upright position, the hangman is about kind of just, turning it over to God, not, feeling like there's nothing more you can do and waiting to see what happens. But in this challenge position, you may be refusing to make the decision. You're just kind of like leaving yourself hanging, where you're not really taking action when you should. Maybe you've been deliberating too long about something. The advice, or what's coming in, is the Ace of Pentacles. This could be a new job, an offer of a new job, maybe even a financial windfall that makes it so that if you're unhappy where you are, you can, keep yourself afloat for a while you're maybe starting your own business or going back to school or whatever it is that you would do with that money, just chilling if you just don't want to do anything specific. In terms of advice, it might be seeking a new job. Don't allow inertia to get the best of you. Just at least see what's out there. If it's relationship oriented, it could be a new relationship with an earth sign. And it's funny because the Hermit is connected to Virgo. So if you've met a Virgo and you're dissatisfied with your marriage, maybe that's the person you're going to end up with, the Virgo. Very different energies between Aries and Virgo, but some people get together with these two signs, so that could be it as well. This is a great card to end on, though. The Six of Wands, victory. Victory is at hand, and this is connected to Leo, I think, of all the fire signs, but this is about accolades. So it may be that, you need to go to a new place of employment in order to get I was going to say the admiration that you are deserved. That sounds weird. I don't mean it like that. I mean what I really mean is more like the kudos. This is about getting your kudos, and it's not meant in an egotistical way like you need that, but you know what, we all need encouragement. Even if we know that we have a talent in a certain area, if you're in a workplace, that could be what's happening, that you're in an environment that is not encouraging to its workforce. And so there's really no sense of, you don't really know where you stand. You may feel a little bit nervous that they don't like your work, and it makes you apathetic. I do think that this happens on purpose. That sometimes these employers do this in order to keep you hanging, to keep you, maybe that's why I get the hangman, to keep you kind of like suspended in the state of not knowing whether or not you're okay or not, so that you're kind of disempowered. Because think about if somebody's patting you on the back and telling you that you're doing a good job, then your self-esteem is going to be high enough that you're not going to doubt yourself. But this causes you to doubt yourself, perhaps. And that is exactly what they may be, why they may be doing this. In terms of personal relationships, I would say too, you deserve to have a relationship that is a mutual admiration society, that both of you really think highly of one another. When there's a situation where one person is critical of another, and seems to not appreciate the other person, that is not only an imbalanced relationship, but that's a toxic relationship. And so it's important that you feel deserving of that type of relationship. Because I feel like the last two cards point to a lot of good stuff. You know, the top left and middle cards are, to me, cards of going within and emotional, not just indifference, but a dissatisfaction that can be motivating if you don't sink into deeper inertia, in other words. And there's like, to me, it's like the Ace of Pentacles and the Six of Wands is just waiting for you. When you decide to make a move, and kind of like, you know what, or get off the pot, which is what the hangman could be described as. You're willing to decide what your next move is going to be. Okay, that's what I have for you, Aries. I hope that you received a beneficial message from this. If you'd like a private reading, the link is below. Have a great June. Take care. Bye.